If you're not a fan of Super7's Godzilla stuff, I would bet that it's either because of how much they cost or how they look, or some combination of the two. There's no doubt that these things have niche appeal, and that's totally okay. But when I go to my usual stomping grounds online, I would say that for the past year and a half or so, there's a group of people that really are trying to convince people like me that reactions and ultimates are rip-offs based on what you get for the price that you pay. I want to be clear. If these aren't for you, I get it. I totally understand that and I accept that. But it's getting really tiresome to go online, talk about how I like these things, and then to be told that because I'm in the niche that Super7's targeting, I can't objectively look at what's in front of me. It's a weird thing to go into the space of people talking about things they like just to go in and talk about how you don't like the thing that they like, or how others are wrong for liking the thing that you like.
If anyone actually buys this Goji figure and supports Super7 after seeing the final product, you are just another pig eating slop from the trough. You deserve to be swindled out of your $84.99 plus tax plus shipping, and you have no right to complain about any other figure from another line.
Oh, that's a spicy take. Imagine you didn't like Thai food, sought out places that were talking about Thai food, and just started typing things like, too much lemongrass! Today I want to talk about some of the double standards that some people in this community seem to have as it relates to collecting Godzilla stuff. If you collect other Godzilla stuff, but you find Super7's prices to be problematic, boy, do I have news for you! I'll start with what I said at the top about cost and how these things look. Let's talk about cost for a second. There is no such thing as absolute value, because cost and value are not necessarily the same thing, and often are not the same thing. We've all heard the saying that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And if you're a homeowner, then this resonates really strongly with you. My wife and I bought our home 2 summers ago, and during our first winter here, we realized that the extension with a bathroom at the end of our house was not insulated properly when it was constructed, and our pipes froze that winter. The following winter, we tried to do some relatively easy fixes to mitigate that, to increase heat flow into that room, but yet again, on some of the really harshest Canadian nights, our pipes froze yet again. It's really anxiety-inducing to wake up in the morning not knowing if your pipes have frozen and burst overnight. This year, we actually decided to hire a plumber to find the pipes going out into that extension in our basement and to install valves so that we could shut off the water going to that extension. And this way we can kill the water when the temperatures drop close to zero, so that it's just not an issue. Now that work came at a cost, but what is the value of that work? Is it the $100 of parts and $50 wage for the hour that the plumber spent here? Is it worth the $600 to $700 that I was charged for the work? Is it worth the thousands of dollars of damage that I've avoided by having this work done? Or is it worth $1 million because now I can sleep at night knowing that my fucking pipes aren't going to burst? So you can already see how value changes depending on who you ask. You know that saying about trees falling in the forest and nobody being there to hear them? Yeah, bring some of these high-end Godzilla collectibles into a room of people who don't know what they are and ask them what they think these things are worth. The reaction stuff is more expensive than I would like it to be. But in return for that price, I get a line of characters from movies that I really like that don't often get a whole lot of representation. They're relatively small and they're easy to display by just attaching the cards to the wall. They're readily available and my comic shops can bring them in easily at MSRP. And that makes it all worth the cost of entry to me. Ultimates are the modern versions of the toys that you had as a kid, and for me, that was the Bandai America stuff. Like, I remember so vividly having my Gigan and Godzilla 54 figures and remembering like how big and substantial they felt in my hands. When in reality, they aren't really that big. I recently got the Godzilla Rex figure from the Godzilla US store, and when I opened the box and saw how small this guy was, I was like, oh my gosh, this is my first Movie Monster Series figure in a long time, but it's like my first final Godzilla figure, and it's so much smaller than I remember having it as a kid. And then to open the Ultimates Mechagodzilla and have him be this big, like, this just takes me back to my childhood. I feel so nostalgic holding this because this is how big I remember my toys being as a child. That is what makes these things valuable to me. But I understand if they don't work for you. But let's just say none of that matters to you and you only care about cost, and that you still think that these things cost too much. I agree that it sucks paying more money than you should to get these items. So why are you doing it? Unless you live in Japan, customers buying SH Monster Arts and Bandai Movie Monster Series vinyl figures are just as prone to overpaying for their products as anyone else. And here's why. The price of Monster Arts figures being brought over by Bandai Namco, formerly Bluefin, in the domestic market are inflated by 35%-ish on average, which means that US customers are paying about $40 to $80 more for the same figures than the folks in Japan are. And as for the Movie Monster Series vinyls, up until recently, with the addition of new distribution channels and services like Bai on the Godzilla store Japan, you weren't able to get these things unless you were going through a third-party importing site like Showcase Daikaiju or HobbyLink Japan. I recently purchased the Godzilla store exclusive Titanosaurus for about 44 Canadian dollars. And to import it through Showcase Daikaiju would have cost me at least 100 more Canadian dollars to do that. As for a regular figure that isn't a Godzilla store exclusive, like Batra, I'm looking at least 60 Canadian dollars more to get it shipped to me than I bought it for at a Japanese Toys R Us. Now, I can already hear the detractors, I have to pay more because there's a third party involved. I pay more because otherwise I couldn't get it. It's authentic, it's from Japan. And I don't care about any of that. The question was, why are you doing it? And any explanation you can give me boils down to, because it's worth it to me. In the same way that Super7's products are worth it to me, Monster Arts and Movie Monster Series vinyls are worth it to you. That should be the end of the discussion without anybody trying to convince each other otherwise. So we've talked about cost, let's talk about appearance. The stylization of the Super7 stuff has been a point of contention among customers. As I've said before, it's really weird to see people digging at the stylization of these things when Godzilla's history is full of stylized figures. And I would say that the spectrum of Godzilla likeness spans from total screen accuracy to what the hell were they smoking? Question for the audience. Is there any area on this spectrum that you feel shouldn't exist? Take your time. I'll wait. I like to think that reasonable people will look at this and say, no, all of these products have their own merits and worth and their customer bases. So I think it's worth asking why Super7, who exists on the spectrum probably close to Mondo-ish, Monster Arts, that's probably blasphemous to say. Why Super7 existing on this spectrum is so bothersome to people. I think that Brian Flynn actually said it best himself. When a product is so close to being the thing that you want, the small deviations hurt so much more than products that were never in the same ballpark to start with. For Super7 trying to make toyetic versions of the monsters you see on screen, these items exist on that spectrum closer to the screen accuracy end. And for the folks that only want screen accuracy, to them that's just flying too close to the sun. Now, something else I feel plays a role in this is Super7's general lack of communication regarding their products and their goals. Brian gives more information about what they're trying to do with Ultimates in the 1-hour conversation he does with toy YouTubers than a year of Super7 social media would tell you. And the choice of words that they use in their marketing are, at best, ambiguous. As an example, Super7 refers to their Super Cyborg figures as fully articulated, when they have 7 points of articulation. So a collector who's used to something like Marvel Legends, $25, 22 at least points of articulation, to see a Super Cyborg at the $85 mark say fully articulated with 7 points of articulation right on the box, there's gonna be confusion. And I think that there needs to be a little bit more thoughtfulness on Super7's part in the words that they use to describe the figures that they're promoting. And I mean, just look at the wording of their Godzilla license announcement. Super7 Super Articulated Ultimate 7-inch figures are the premier fan product. They are made-to-order figures that come with a huge assortment of extra features, making them the most exceptionally intricate expressions of the character that can possibly be made. Wow! I don't blame people for reading this and expecting screen accuracy. The use of the word expression seems very close to likeness. Enough so that people will read that. But having spent so much time watching Brian's interviews and seeing what he has to say about these products, screen accuracy is not what he's talking about. Super7 wants you to feel like you can reenact the movies on your shelves, not through screen accuracy, but by including parts that allow you to recreate scenes. They want you to recreate Godzilla being choked out by Biollante, or burning Godzilla having the smoke coming out of his body, or melting down in his final moments of the Heisei era. So I can totally understand where the disappointment comes from. It doesn't feel good to have something to look forward to, only to have it fall short of your expectations, or to have it completely ripped away from you if the toyetic aesthetic just doesn't work for you. I'm not gonna sit here like, oh, like, get over it, it's just toys. But I will say that your disappointment is yours. It is not mine. In the same way that I can say my enjoyment of this line is mine, it is not yours. We should all celebrate the things that we like and we enjoy, rather than spending time just hating the things we don't. So you do you, I'll do me, and we're all gonna have a great time with all this Godzilla stuff that's out there. So thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll talk to you again soon.